Okay, so this is a little bit childish, but let's imagine for a second that this is Macbeth and this is Lady Macbeth, and you're trying to decide what the relationship between them is like. At the beginning of the play, Macbeth meets the witches on the heath, and they're like, oh, all hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter. And he's like, oh, great news. And the very first thing that he does is he thinks about his wife being at home in the castle, and he decides he's going to write to her. If you think about the people who find out on X Factor that they've got through and they're really, really excited, the first thing they'll do, oh, I have to ring my mom because I'm so excited, and tell her the good news. Macbeth does exactly the same thing. He says, I have to contact my wife and tell her the good news. In the letter, he's like, oh, my dearest partner of greatness, I've got great news. The witches have told me that I'm going to be king. I'm so excited. The fact that he's written the letter to her at all shows how much he loves her, and he refers to her as my dearest partner of greatness. So he sees her as an equal, whereas in these times it would have been quite normal for a man to see his wife as an inferior. But he treats her as an equal, he treats her as a partner, he consults her about everything. And Lady Macbeth, who's back in the castle, is reading the letter. Her reaction is quite different. She reacts by saying, oh, I am afraid of your nature. I think you are too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, are not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. Yes, I love you too, but I want us to achieve all of the things that we're destined to achieve. I want us to become king and queen. And the problem is, you're a bit of a wuss, really. You're a bit of a coward. I don't think you have the steel and the ruthlessness in you to carry out what needs to be done in order for us to gain the throne. In a lot of ways, if you simplify it and you think about a couple who are in love, and one of the reasons couples in love end up having problems is because one person, often the wife, wants to change the other person, often the husband. That's kind of the dynamic that's going on here. Macbeth's like, oh, I love my wife so much and I really want to please her and I want to make her happy. Lady Macbeth is like, oh, I love my husband, but he's so annoying. So the next thing that happens is Lady Macbeth is here at the castle, and Macbeth arrives back on his horse. The first thing he says to her is, my dearest love. So all of his terms towards his wife so far have been very affectionate. He's called her my dearest partner of greatness and now my dearest love. Lady Macbeth, on the other hand, once they go inside, she resorts to emotional blackmail. So she has already called on the spirits to unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. So she has said, it's not really in me to be this horrible, but I need to do it. If my husband is going to achieve the greatness that has been promised to him, if he's going to fulfill his dreams and ambitions in life, then I need to just kind of man up and make this happen. Even though we don't approve of what she does next, we can understand why she does it. She does the wrong thing for the right reasons because she wants her husband to fulfill his dreams and ambitions.
So she says, I can't believe you're going to break your promise to me. Were you drunk or something when you told me that you'd do it? Well, from this time forth, such I account thy love. She says a couple of more things. She doesn't just say, oh, you don't really love me. She also says, from this time on, you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and all you're going to see is a coward. She says you'll have to live a coward in thine own esteem, and you'll be so disappointed with yourself that you didn't have the courage to go through with this.
Third thing she says is, I'd never break a promise to you. So how do we feel about their relationship at the beginning of the play? Here we have Lord of the Castle, Lady of the Castle, and basically we think he loves her very, very much. She loves him too, but she wants to change him. And the conflict between them comes because she's saying, you have to do this. You just have to do this, because if you don't do this, we're not going to achieve the thing that we want to achieve. And to be fair, Macbeth did call her my dearest partner in greatness. He sees her as instrumental to him achieving greatness. So maybe even the fact that he tells her all this stuff, maybe it's deliberate because he wants her to kind of force his hand. Another problem with them as a couple, and that's why I'll make them face away from each other, is that they fundamentally differ on their attitude towards what it means to be a man.
Lady Macbeth says to her husband, when you durst do it, then you were a man.
He says, I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none. So we get the impression that they fundamentally differ, and they also differ on, right and wrong. She's saying the right thing to do is to do whatever you have to do to achieve your ambitions in life. So she's very Machiavellian in her outlook. Whereas he's saying, I have to obey my conscience, I have to listen to my conscience. Phase 1 of the play is he sends the letter to his wife and she reacts to it. That's Act 1, Scene 5. And then she manipulates her husband into agreeing to commit the crime. That's Act 1, Scene 7. The next thing that happens is that Macbeth comes back having killed Duncan, and Lady Macbeth starts to question him. She says, my husband? and he's like, oh, I can't believe what I've just done. He says, methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more, Macbeth doth murder sleep. So he's afraid that he's going to be an insomniac for the rest of his life because he's done this terrible thing.
And she says these deeds must not be thought of after these ways, so it will make us mad. So she's actually really concerned about her husband, and she's terrified that he's going to go insane, that he's going to lose his mind. And that's why she nags at him to stop thinking about it. It's because she's afraid for him.
She's very, very good at trying to protect her husband from being caught. Because if you think about it logically, at this point, Lady Macbeth could just be like, do, nothing to do with me. She could walk away from him right now. Obviously she's not going to do that because she wants to be queen and because she loves her husband. She sticks by her husband. She tries to protect him. She tries to make sure that they don't get caught. But the fact that he's acting like so upset and so distraught at what he has done really pisses her off. She says, why did you bring the daggers from the place? Now it takes her a while to notice this, so her first concern was for her husband's well-being. But when she realises that he's brought the daggers with him, she's really angry and she says, oh, infirm of purpose, let me do it. So she goes off
to plant the daggers at the scene of the crime.
When she comes back, she helps him to cover up what they've done. But she is giving out, so she is kind of the traditional nagging wife. And she says, my hands are of the same colour as yours, but I shame to wear a heart so white. So this idea, again, that he's a coward comes up. One of the signs that a relationship is in trouble is if people keep having the same argument. She keeps calling him a coward. She keeps suggesting that he's not manly enough for her. If a couple keep having the same argument over and over again, it can create quite a lot of tension and bitterness. It can create a distance between them as a couple.